This is The Driver by Casco. Right now we have a tracked mode going on, which is a projector I'll show you in the back. This is a separate projector from the one that actually shows the track that you're on. This particular game came out of the Time Travel Warehouse, well known in Canada. It was a huge stockpile of games and parts that were all brand new in the warehouse for 30 or 40 years. The guy I bought this from is up in Washington. He bought it out of the warehouse, so this is a one-owner game, never been in an arcade. It's near mint condition. Let's play a game. I'll show you how it works. The object is to stay on the track. If you don't, you get a yellow siren, yellow light, and the siren sounds. You'll see that happen. So here we go, coin it up. As long as I stay on the track, as long as I stay on, I'm going to the right. Score goes to the right, I increase. If I go off, I goes to the left. Score decreases. So let's give it some gas. Try to stay on the track. And I made it over 600 points. I currently have it set for 600. Give me a replay. So that came on. I can start another game. Here's the side of the game. The other side is just as clean. Speaker and sounds come through here. The game is currently set for 50 cents per play. Looking through the schematics, it doesn't appear that I can change that to a quarter a play. Taking a look inside the machine, it is very clean. There isn't a bit of rust, corrosion, oxidation on any of the parts, any of the printed circuit boards or the connections. This particular board is the collision sound. When you do make a collision, you get that yellow siren. There are sensors that come up here, and then this is the sound generator. You've got adjustments you can make. These potentiometers will adjust the sensitivity of when a crash occurs. Looking down below, this is the film strip. It's a 16mm continuous film, and this is the separate projector for the attract mode. There's a disc. The disc is right here. It's spinning, and the projection lamp, it bounces off that mirror and comes up and shows you on the bottom side. Here's the inside looking up at the top where the image is projected. Have my steering, the speaker, the throttle, gas pedal there, and there's that projector. So what we're going to do is go through adjustments of the main projector. So I'm going to disable this attract mode by unplugging it. I've unplugged the fan so it's not quite as noisy back here while I'm showing you this. There's a switch right here that even in game over mode, if I flip this switch, the projector will come on, so I can use that to manually run it and make adjustments. Here's the 16mm film. Let's walk through what's on this, and then you'll be able to understand a little better how the projector works. So 16mm, each one of these is a single frame, and you notice that right here, tip of my finger, is half black and half white. Then the next frame, half black, half white. So every frame has that. And that black and white is what's used to determine if you're staying on track or not. Notice here to the right you see some squiggy lines. That is actually the soundtrack. And so the engine noise, the revving of the car, screeching of tires, that's all on those two lines. I don't know how close I can get in focus. Oh, there you can see it's a little audio signal. And let me go like this, see how, oh yeah, we can get focused here. You can see the race car on the track, and there's the white and the black line. So what happens with that white and black line is there are two sensors here. They're light sensors, one here and one here, and when the projector is showing the image up on that screen that you're watching, at the same time that the image of the cars and the racetrack is being projected there, that black and white line is being projected up and hitting these light sensors, which are towards the back of the game. You don't see them, but one of these sensors is set up that it needs to have black or no light going to it, and the other sensor needs to have light going to it all the time. So let's turn this on and take a look at how that works. Alright, I've coined the game up, and it's actually playing right now. You notice that the sirens are going all the time, but the light comes on only when you're off track. And so these two sensors are up here, and watch what happens. Right? If I cover this, covering it, so that one wants light all the time, this one wants dark all the time. Watch what happens. Alright, game over. Now, you saw these sirens going on when I wasn't holding light here or holding dark here. That's because the game was actually in play, and so that light and dark strip at the bottom of each frame was moving back and forth. And so what I'm saying is that right here is that dividing line on the film between light and dark. Dark is always over here on this side, and light is always over here on this side. And so as long as this keeps the light on it, this sensor is disabled or it's not activated. And as long as this keeps dark on it, then we're good. But as that film, as you go around corners on the actual 16mm track, as you go into corners, that light and dark strip moves with you. So by you moving the steering wheel, what you're doing is you're adjusting the actual position of the film being projected to keep that black and white strip centered here. And so these are adjustable. There's a thumb screw here, and I can move this in and out. And by moving this closer together, you're making the game much more sensitive, because that black and white strip, light and dark strip, has to stay right in between. If I move these way out, then I've got much more leeway between light and dark before I would trigger either sensor. So the point I was trying to get to is that you saw the sirens coming on and the yellow light flashing for quite a while, and many times while I wasn't holding light or making dark. But that's because the game was in the middle of playing and the track was moving around, so that light and dark was moving on its own. And so those two sensors come up to this printed circuit board and plug in here. And so again, one is looking for light all the time, one is looking for dark all the time. And it's like an opposite circuit in here. And when one gets light, we go alarm. When the other goes dark, we get alarm. And the sensitivity is adjusted by a couple potentiometers here. This potentiometer adjusts the volume of that siren when you do get a collision. Right here I am on my back on the floor, and I'm looking up into the cabinet, and this is the projection screen that the track goes onto. These are the two sensors I've been talking about, and when I turn the film on, you're going to see a band of light, and the light will be bouncing around. So again, the object is to keep one side light all the time and the other side dark all the time by moving your steering wheel and keeping that right in the middle. So let's turn it on. See it move? And it's following the track. Right there is where we want to be. I just turned it off. Now the reason we didn't get the sirens when we went outside of that is because I wasn't actually playing a game. I was using that switch on the back of the projector to turn it on manually. There are instructions here inside the cabinet and also in the owner's manual of how to thread the film on. I'm not a historian or expert on these films, but I've gone and looked at many YouTube videos, and from what I can tell, there's at least 3 or 4 different car scenes. This is the Indy 500 racetrack. There's one chasing a Corvette. I've seen another one when it looks like a little European car, like maybe a Fiat. You're chasing it around. So I don't know how many different scenes they made, but if I take off this cover, I can see the actual projector bulb. There are several spots here that are actually the driving wheels that make the film move along, and they have little sprockets on them. So this is one that has to be engaged. There's another one right here, one more right here. So all these, the little teeth have to be in the holes of the film. The last one that's really important is right here where the film goes through the actual projection unit. There's a spring-loaded plate or shoe, you see there and there, and you can pull that back to get this film in and out. But the important thing is that when the film goes in there, there is a finger that's on a flywheel, and that finger comes along and it advances the film, and so that's got to be engaged. If that's not engaged, when you fire this up, it actually starts feeding the film, or the film stays where it is, and as this feeds through, you lose your loop right here, and then you gain a whole bunch of film here because it doesn't feed through. And so every time you change out the film, what you're supposed to do is turn it on and off just for a split second and make sure it feeds properly. Okay, that feed it properly. Same. So as long as we're doing that, we're good. There's several safety features here that will shut the projector down should the film not be feeding properly. So this micro switch right here is one. I'm going to turn it on, and if this were to ever lose its slack and push on this micro switch, it would shut the machine down. So watch, I'll do that. Turn it on. Okay, and just by activating that, it shut it off. And this little brass finger there pops up and holds it in the locked position. And so if your machine shuts off, see if this has been triggered. So I'll reset it. We're back running again. The other safety mechanism is this micro switch right over here. And that's on a spring-loaded roller. So if the tape, or if the film rather, were to break and you lost your tension here, this would go forward and activate this micro switch, and that would shut off the mechanism also. There's a lamp underneath this hood, and the lamp is a KE040. It's projecting through this lens at the bottom of the film, and it's pointing exactly at those two audio strips. And so the light projecting through, it picks up an electronic signal and it goes up to the sound amplifier unit, and that's how you get your sounds off the tape. To focus the film as it projects onto the screen, you have a lock nut here. You loosen this and then turn this bigger wheel, and it moves the projection lens in and out. And you can just turn it on, and you can look on the underside of the screen. Once you get in focus, then lock it back down again. On this side of the projector, there's a flywheel down in there, and as I turn it, you can see there's a big plate that rotates, and also there's an arm. Okay, here comes the plate again, and then right there where I'm pointing, that arm has got some pegs in it. Watch how that pulls back, moves over, drops back in, and then slides along. Okay, see there the arm's moving, and it dropped back in. Alright, but I was going the wrong way. This is the way it needs to spin. So it drops in, and what that's doing is moving the tape along, moving the film along. See, so now it's actually moving the film, and then it will pull back out of the holes in the film and come into the next one. And now as that finger is doing that, it's backing up, going and grabbing the film, moving along one frame, one frame, one frame. You also have these blades that are flying by the window where the light comes through. So while we're in the middle of moving the film along, the blade is blocking the light. And after the film gets advanced to the next frame, then that blade is passed, the light can shine through, I see that frame. And then before I start to move the frame or the film along to the next frame, before I do that, the next blade comes in line and it blocks the light. So what you get is that rapid pulsing of single images. The light comes through just as each frame is sitting there still. And that's how movie projection works. But some adjustments here that you have to be aware of is, the first one is this mounting plate right here. This mounting plate actually holds the whole lens system, and where those two screws are, the plate is actually oblong type of circle, so you have some adjustment this way and that, back and forth on this plate. Now that's important because when you move this plate, you're taking the lens and you're moving it back and forth also. But what that's doing is moving it on either the left of center or right of center of where the light is projecting through, the image is projecting through. And so what that translates to, if I look up at the bottom side, the underside where my projector is, if I move that plate back and forth, what I'm going to be doing is actually taking this image being projected and shifting it up and down, or as you sit in your seat and play the game, vertically up and down. Just moving that little plate is going to adjust this drastically. What's important about that adjustment is the fact that, remember, on each frame of the film we've got that light and dark strip which is going across these sensors. So as I adjust the film up and down, that light and dark strip could either be up so high that I see it when I'm playing the game, or it could be down so low that it's missing the sensors altogether. And if you are out of adjustment, remember, one of the sensors needs light all the time. So if you adjust it too far down, then you have dark on it, and the ends up the siren is constantly on and never shuts off. If you have that happening, get down here and take a look and see where your light dark strip is and make sure it's going through these sensors. If it's too far down, then what's happened is this lens has gotten out of adjustment, and so one thing you can do is loosen those two screws and move this plate, move the lens, and that'll fix your problem. Now this reflecting plate, it has two screws, one here and one on the other side. If you went and looked on the back side, that other screw, it's in an oblong hole. So loosening the two screws, this reflecting plate will be able to pivot or rotate. Rotates here because I'm slotted on the back. By pivoting this, you're actually going to pivot the image and tilt it. So what that looks like on the projection screen is it's taking your image and it's kind of rotating it or tilting it a little to the left, a little to the right. So you want to have this plate in the right position so that when you're looking up at the screen, the image is sitting square and not tilted or slightly rotated one way or another. And also that'll affect the rotation of this light dark strip as it goes across. You want to have that strip be horizontal across here and not really tilted or angled one way or another. So we want to make sure that this flywheel and that teeth is engaging and advancing the film. We want to be in focus. We want to have this plate just right so we have our light and dark strips going over the sensors properly. This has to be tilted to the right position. And then I think last adjustment that we have to worry about is the steering wheel. Now the steering wheel is on a slip ring type assembly to where when I turn the wheel it'll just spin, 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 but this has a limited amount of throw. In other words, I can go up to that position, that's as far up as it goes, or I can come down to right there. And so as I turn the steering wheel, it's got that amount of throw that it's actually moving this rod, and the rest of it, the wheel will just spin and spin. But while you're rotating that wheel, and this goes up and down, if you watch over here, as I move this shaft up and down, watch the lens goes up and down. Alright, so this lens moving up and down, that takes the projected image and moves it left and right as you're sitting playing the game. And so what you're doing is, remember that light dark strip is gonna move with the track. You're actually taking the image and you're moving it left and right so that you're bringing that center light dark back into between the sensors, and that way you don't have a collision or siren going off. I'll turn the projector on manually so you can see how it actually advances the frames past the viewing window or the actual projection. So here we go, turn it on. So what you were seeing there was those teeth moving over, locking in to the film and advancing it one frame over and over again, while that butterfly wheel or whatever it's called with the blades would go in and block the projection window. There's a couple other adjustments that can be made while we're in here. This screw right here going up and down, it's spring loaded on the bulb, and so by going up and down I adjust the highest part of the beam intensity to get right through the window. And then there's one more little adjustment that really I haven't figured out what it does, but right here there's some little serrated teeth. This is a lever, and if I move this lever back and forth, what it does is there's one more little sliding plate that moves, and there's a window there that you have to have that adjusted just right so that the full window lets all the light through. If you have it, this little finger here with the teeth on it, right there, if you have that slid too far one way or too far another, that aperture, that opening in this plate will be too far one way or another and partially blocking the film. And so the way you'll be able to know that that's happening is when you're up here watching, you'll have a dark line across the top or bottom because that aperture window is moved too far one way or another. When you step on the gas pedal and you rotate this potentiometer, what you're doing is actually increasing the speed at which the film moves. To adjust the steering wheel, or to show you what that adjustment looks like, we're going to turn the film on manually. Now I'm manually playing a game, so there won't be any siren. But if you notice, as it's playing, I have full video from left to right. If I rotate the wheel, I just rotate it all the way to the right. Okay, there's the edge of the film. Now watch as I rotate the wheel to the left. Alright, I get that back, and now watch, I'll keep rotating left. And now I've got that. Okay, I've shut it off so we don't have to listen to the road sound and engines while I explain this. You saw that when I rotated the steering wheel left and right, that the image had an edge here and an edge here. Well, what you want to do is adjust the steering wheel linkage so that rotating the wheel fully left or fully right, you have an equal amount of the edge or the blank space left and right when you have full rotation of the wheel. The way you get that to be equal on both sides is around here in back. This is coming down from the steering wheel. There's a wing nut, and you can adjust the position of this. So these bars, once you loosen this, you can make them longer or shorter, and that comes down and causes the lens to raise or lower. So the reason why you want to start with the steering wheel adjustment as the very first adjustment is by making that image centered on your projection screen. That will also center that light and dark strip right here in the middle of the cabinet. And then when your car is going down the track and it's right smack in the middle, you're not in the middle of a turn going left or right. When you're going right down the middle of the track, that light dark strip will be right here halfway in the cabinet, and then you can bring your sensors in and adjust to that position. I have 2 extra films for the game. This one is another Indy 500, so the one that's currently in the game and this are exactly the same. But then I've got what I think is the Corvette one, or are you chasing the Corvette? But let's put this one in and see what it is. I've just changed the film out, and as I was mentioning before, this adjustment here is probably one of the most critical ones. Not only do you have to make sure that all of these driving wheels, those teeth are engaged, or the sprockets in the slots of the film, but here, this shoe, when you want to move it away so you can get that film out of there, you loosen this and bring the lens forward so that this plate can be brought forward, or this shoe. Alright, so there's the shoe that's pressing the film flat, and once you bring this out, then you can slide that film in and out. But when you slide the film back in, you need to make sure that the film is raised towards the top of the channel that it goes in, and when it's properly engaged, you won't be able to move the film. The film is caught in there, but what it's caught on is this tooth and this lever, which drives it or engages and pushes it forward frame by frame. So you want to make sure this flywheel is in a position where those teeth are dropped in and engage the film, so you have something to lock the film onto. But with the film completely installed, I've got some slack here, so I'm not pushing on this safety micro switch. Should be in this position. And I have slack here, I have slack here, but the film is locked in and can't be moved back and forth. And then you've got some slack here, and this rod, you loosen this thumb screw and this rod can come in and out so that you can pull the whole film strip off. Installing the whole spool of film on and off of here, the way I do it is you have just one spool which has, you know, a flange on it, and that's grabbing onto the top of and bottom of the film. All the rest of them do not have flanges, so you want to put your film strip on and off so that you're engaging this first and then lay the film down and have it go over all of those. If you start and put it on the back side first and then come forward, when you try to lay the film strip down over this, you're going to hit this flange. So start here and then lay it down that way. And then we come off of that spool with the flanges on it and come around, and then you do not go around this second roller. You come off of the sprockets and the drive wheel and go straight for these guide pins. So make sure you do that. Alright, let's see what is on this film. That was quite a bit more sensitive than the Indy 500 track. There is a timer that's on a printed circuit board underneath here that when the game shuts off, or when you run it manually, when you shut it off, when you hit the switch, we're going off, the film actually will run for about a half a second longer, just a half a second, so that the heat of that lamp has a chance to start dissipating before the film comes to a stop. So in any projection system, the heat of that lamp sitting on stationary film would burn a hole in it. So the film actually will keep going for just a half a second longer past the time that the lamp starts to shut off to prevent you from overheating the film. It's going to happen real quick, but watch. I'll go on and off, and it'll actually run for just a half a second longer than when I go off. On, off. Just a slight delay there. Every time the game is started, there is a squirrel cage fan in here that will come on, blowing air on the lamp to keep it cool. And when the game shuts off, this squirrel cage fan will run for about, I don't know, 30 seconds, maybe a minute more to cool down the lamp. So watch, I'll turn it on just for a moment, and when I shut it off, you'll hear the fan is still running. That sound you hear is that squirrel cage continuing to cool the lamp for about 30 seconds afterwards. With all adjustments finished, there is a plastic protective cover that goes over this, keep the dust off the film, and then a little glass plate. So that glass plate is where the projection image comes through, and you can remove that glass plate just by itself, leave the cover on, but allows you to get into where you can adjust the focus and the lens if you need to. This is the flyer for the Casco version of the driver. I believe Casco made it, but it was also imported into the US under the brand name US Billiards. So notice it's the exact same game, but they took the Casco logo off of it. I think the year of manufacture of this game is somewhere between 1969 or 70 all the way up to 79. Articles I've read online is they made several different versions of them. This is the main wiring diagram for the game, and some of the printed circuit boards have their full schematics here on this main wiring diagram, but other boards it just shows, you know, the board and calls out its number. TD for the driver, PB printed board number 03. So I have a PB03 and 11, 4. I have schematics for all of these except TD PB01. That's the CDS amplification and collision board. I do not have that schematic, and that is this board where those CDS sensors come in to tell when you've had a collision, and the sound generator. So if anybody has the schematic for just this board, I'll pay you to make a copy for me. I'd really like to get this schematic. So please get a hold of me through my website, GameRoomRepair.com. And that is the driver by Casco. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. For more information, visit GameRoomRepair.com.